There's an old story of a philosophy professor who has a jar up in front of class, and he also has a bunch of rocks, some pebbles, and some sand. So he pours the sand into the jar, and then he throws the pebbles in, and there's absolutely no room for the rocks. So he asks the class, looks like this jar is full, nothing's going to fit, we can't get all this stuff to fit, right? Wrong. So he empties the jar, puts in the rocks first, then he sprinkles the pebbles on top, and they fill in all the cracks. And then he takes the sand and he sprinkles the sand in, and that fills in all the cracks. Right? So everything did fit into the jar. You just had to prioritize it. Well, that's just like life. Right? Those rocks represent the big, important things that you find valuable. The pebbles, those are kind of important, but they're not rocks. They're not the same as rocks. And finally, there's the sand. Sand is social media. Sand is fiddling around on your phone. Sand is being lost in thought. That's the very unimportant stuff. Now, if you put the sand in first, if you fill your life with things that are not important, of course the important things aren't going to fit. But if you can reprioritize, put the important things in first, and then the kind of important thing stuff, and then the rest of the stuff will just sprinkle in there, and it all fits. But you have to prioritize. Find out more right after this. Hey, it's Derek Hagan. I'm a financial therapist here with another money health conversation. Today we're going to talk about prioritizing your spending, both your money and your time. So what does that mean? Let's take a look. You only have limited resources. You're not going to make infinity dollars in your lifetime. You don't have unlimited time, and you probably know you don't have unlimited energy. You only have so many resources. So how are you going to use those resources? You want to be intentional, right? You want to make sure that you're putting the big rocks in first. Get those in there. Be the kind of person who does these things, and the rest will fall into place. But you have to be intentional with that. Because remember, your lifetime earnings are not infinite. Now, for some people, this is going to be bigger, and some people, it's going to be smaller. But the point is, it doesn't matter. It's not infinite, rather. It's capped. And because it's capped, you have to make some decisions about how you want to use that. Time is the same thing. You only have so much time, and every day that passes, it's like a little bit more sand going through your hourglass. You only have this much time. And that's if all goes well. All goes well meaning you're probably going to live to your early 80s. Maybe it's mid 80s, maybe it's 90s. Probabilistically, that's how long you're going to live. But accidents happen. So you're not guaranteed to live to 80. So your time is limited already, but you don't know how much time you have left. How do you want to spend your time? So you have to prioritize. You have to prioritize your spending in terms of your expenses, your transactions, and you also have to prioritize your time. Meaning, if you choose A, you can't choose B. So do you really want A? Now, and you might be thinking, oh, but Derek, I can choose both. I have more wealth. I have more income than most people. And to you, I'd say, fine. But then you can't choose C. The point is that no matter how much you have, you can't have infinity. You do have to prioritize. And the way you do that is to get crystal clear about your values. Not anybody else's, not the Joneses, not your neighbors, not your friends, not your family, your values. Everybody has their values, and those are none of your business. They might be fun to talk about, but you shouldn't really care. Get crystal clear about what's important to you. And that will come with a sense of confidence. The more confidence you have, the more, it's almost like a positive feedback loop. The more clarity you get around your values, the more confidence you get in your values, which will make you more clear about your values, which will give you more confidence. This is the kind of feedback loop that you want to get into. That's why this is upward sloping at an exponential rate. So now that you know what's important to you, I want you to assign a unit of happiness to the use of time, to the use of money, to the use of energy. How happy will this make you? Economists, they call this utility, but we'll call this units of happy. Let's call it 0 to 100. Right, so driveway's old, still functional, but I kind of want to replace it. Well, how happy will I be if I do it? Well, maybe it's a 80. Maybe it's 80. Maybe it's right over here. Or maybe the driveway absolutely needs to be replaced because it's falling apart and it's breaking, in which case that'll bring me a 95 happiness because then I'll have a good driveway that actually works. But figure out how much that's going to bring to your happiness. And I use driveway as an example because that's something that you might need to do. Or maybe not. But this is what we're going to try to figure out. So maybe it's appliances. Maybe it's dining out. Maybe it's playing with your kids, going to a park. Whatever. How much happiness will it bring you? That's important. But then, so this is utility. This is what economists call utility. They also talk about opportunity costs. So I need you to think, what if I was going down towards A? That means getting a new driveway, for example. What if I couldn't do that? If I didn't get a driveway, what's B? What else would I spend that money on? So I can spend $10,000 on a new driveway, or $5,000 on a new driveway. Let's say it's $5,000. But if I didn't get the new driveway, what could I use that $5,000 for? Maybe it's a family vacation. So driveway, that's what I'm thinking about. Like, this is the framework that I'm giving you. I want a new driveway. Well, is it important to me? Do I need it? Right, how much happiness will it bring me? And what else could I do with that money if I didn't get the driveway? So we're going to close that road temporarily and have you explore B. B might be that family vacation. So then I want you to assign units of happiness to that family vacation. So now you've got a driveway, and maybe it's a junky driveway, right? So maybe you've got a driveway that'll bring you 85 units of happiness. And the family vacation will give you 90. Or maybe it'll even bring you less. Maybe it's stressful and going on car trips. The kids are screaming. This is different for everybody. I'm not suggesting these should be certain numbers. So maybe it's even 60 to go on a vacation. But you want to make sure that you assign a unit of happiness for A and assign a unit of happiness for B. But that's not it. I'm not suggesting you're going to just go pick the one that has the highest happiness, because you need to divide by the dollars. So the driveway will bring you 70 units of happiness, and it costs you $5,000. You do 70 divided by 5,000. And if you go on a family vacation, and that will bring you 80 units of happiness, or maybe it's even less. It could be 65 units of happiness. But that only costs $2,000. So what we're trying to do is figure out how much happiness do you get per dollar. Because if you don't, you're going to find that you're throwing a bunch of sand into your bucket. You're filling up your life with unimportant things. Or maybe it's things that are kind of important. Maybe it is the pebbles. But then you're going to find out that all the rocks don't fit. So when you prioritize and you get the highest happiness per dollar, then you get to get the biggest bang for your buck. You get to start with the biggest bang for the buck, and then the second biggest bang for the buck. You're working on those rocks so that you want all the rocks to fit, and then you can get all the pebbles. And then if the sand fits, that's fine. But you won't care if it doesn't, because it's just sand. Nobody cares. Prioritizing your use of resources in accordance with your values and being aware of what your other uses are. What are you giving up if you pursue this A that you were looking at? Think about B. How much happiness will it bring you, and how much does it cost to get that happiness? Do this, and that's good money health.